All right. So welcome everybody. Day one of the Advanced Conversational Hypnotherapy program. We will get into the actual program in just a moment. I do want to start this off by just prefacing a few things. Obviously, this training, we've got people all over the world, so we'll try and have breaks every 2 to 2.5 hours. Okay. Now, I understand as well the time zones are extremely weird, so just put it in for the next 2 days. It'll definitely be worth your time. And obviously we'll have the breaks and the feedback and all like that. So obviously we're recording this as well. So you guys will have access to these recordings, plus the recordings we did last time as well. So you'll be able to find those in the group. So the best place for us to start is to understand this. The biggest block I see coaches, therapists, RTTers, NLPers alike, and I used to fall into this category as well, is we're always in too much of a rush to solve our client's problem. And therein starts the next problem. And if there was 2 things you could take away from the training, it'd be worth your time and what you've paid for this training, just to understand these 2 simple ideas that for some of you may seem a little bit foreign, but I guarantee it'll be a game changer when it comes to therapy, coaching, whatever you're doing. Whenever we're trying to rush to work with our clients, we're trying to MOS, we want to get their results, because I talk about that in the program, and we try and speed things up by using the techniques and the strategies, you will actually slow your client's breakthrough down. It'll actually take longer. Who's heard of that idea? You know, the harder you try and do things, the less results you get. Therapy, coaching, NLP alike is big for this. Now, I think this comes from there's a lot of money on the table when we're working with our clients, and we are trying so fucking hard to make sure that we get a result. And then the second problem occurs. So the first is, I'm going to teach you guys how to slow down to create very quick transformations. And I'm also going to task everybody with this as we do the demonstrations over the next 2 days and moving through guys into your career. From this day forward, I want you to promise yourself and promise me to never solve a client's problem ever again. Sounds weird, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because these are the 2 biggest blocks. People are in too much of a hurry to get things done, and it will slow things down. And then people are trying so fucking hard to solve their client's problem, it takes even longer. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. And just unmute yourselves. Give me a yes. That way we can double check all the tech. Mel's here.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Excellent. So who would agree on this? Who's ever found themselves sitting with a client and thinking, what the hell do I do next?
Yes.
Yeah.
Every
Many
day.
times.
Why is
Every
this
time.
not working?
Every time.
Or I've thrown everything at these people and it's still not working. What do I do next? Where have I gone wrong? What am I supposed to do? Who's ever found themselves in that circumstance before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had clients ask me or beg me, tell them what to do. before.
Yeah. And we'll get into that because that's a common thing as well. The biggest reason why you are stuck for what to do next, or it's not happening quickly, is because you're trying to solve your client's problem and you're trying to do it too quickly. So who would be willing to adopt a new identity where you'd never have to solve a client's problem ever again, thus no pressure on yourself to perform, and you could be so goddamn lazy that you can actually do less work but have a bigger transformation? Who likes that idea as therapy?
Me.
I do.
Go for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Line
I was
me
like,
up.
no, let's not do that. It sounds horrible. But isn't it weird? You guys have come to another training to learn something new. And who's found themselves going to another training course to fill up their tool bag full of the same fucking techniques you've been learning every single time, just with a fancy new name? Okay. What we're going to do is over the next 2 days, I want you to put all of those tools to the side. Forget RTT, forget NLP, forget coaching, forget hypnotherapy, forget everything. This is real cliche. Forget everything you know. And I just want to show you a new way to do things. And then after these 2 days, bring that old stuff back. And I guarantee 2 things will happen. Either you'll never have to use all that old stuff ever again, because this will finally make sense. Or when you bring back all your old favorite tools, they'll be 100 times, if not 1,000 times more effective. Who likes the idea of that?
Yeah.
Okay. No more scripts, no more techniques, no more language patterns, no more therapy. That's sort of where we're going. Okay. Now, for a lot of people think, well, how the hell are we going to do that? Like, we need something to do. What am I supposed to say? What do I do? What we're going to do over the next 2 days, starting very, very soon, is we're going to start this process from scratch, from what we call the interview process, all the way through to the therapy, the trance, the demarcation, the testing, all the way through. So by the end of the 2 days, you will have witnessed several times people actually getting therapy done. Who likes the idea of that? Okay.
Yep.
Well, if you don't, too bad. That's what you're here for. Okay. So has anyone got any questions based on that as an idea? Anyone got any questions about that?
Can I just ask, Scott?
Please do.
So, yeah, we do all this new stuff where we're not trying to solve, and I've done a little bit with a few clients already, but then I'm still thinking, oh my God, do I still need to send them a recording after all this? Like, not a scripted one. Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah, we will talk about the whole recording thing, the homework. I'll touch on that. But I think by the end of this second day, you'll think, wow, I never really have to send that ever again. I'm pretty sure you guys will figure that out. And it's not to say that stuff can't be used, but there is a better way. When I say lazy, anyway. Yeah, when I say lazy, I literally mean like those 20-minute Ericksonian, I'm sure you guys have all heard of Milton Erickson. I'm going to refer to him a lot. The 20-minute Ericksonian like transformations working with clients that were deemed unfixable. Okay. Now I'll reference him a lot. I'll reference him a lot over the next 2 days because of someone I look up to, and it makes a real easy reference. Unfortunately, it's a bit hard to look at his content on YouTube, but we had a couple in the group. You ought to check that out, but that's sort of where we're going. So with that in mind, if you do have notepad and pen, I highly recommend don't use it for the next 2 days. Okay. We are recording this because if you're using the notes, it's like looking at a script. You say to your client, what's the problem? And they're talking to you and you're too busy looking at a script. You're going to miss out on all the wonderful things your client's going to give you. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So what I want to do, let's just dive in the deep end here. Now, with the recording as well, it's sometimes a little bit tough with Zoom that we've set it up. So the person getting the therapy, we're hoping that the camera stays on them. But Zoom being technology doesn't always agree and follow with us. So I do apologize if you're not seeing the things that I'm seeing based on the recordings you guys get afterwards, but I will make sure I point things out. We will stop proceedings. There'll be a lot of stopping and starting and things like that. But we're going to go through the whole entire process with granular detail. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're working with stop smoking, whether you're working with anxiety, whether you're working with weight loss, fear, trauma. I don't care what it is, and neither should you. Now, forget about the program because I talk about niching. But I want to ask everybody a group question. Where do our problems exist? Where are they?
The unconscious.
Who would agree the unconscious? Stick your hand up if you agree the unconscious.
Yep.
Yep. Who would agree that there's possibility of a bit of conscious conclusions and thinking about why they can't solve the problem as well? Who would agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So we know the majority of the problem, you know, if we look at the problem as being a loop, the biggest part of the loop is the unconscious. Otherwise, they would have fixed it for themselves. So if my client comes in and says, Scott, I want to quit smoking, why the hell would I bother listening to that? Right? Because how on earth could a client tell me what their real problem is? All they're going to tell me is the symptom. Would you guys agree with that? Yeah. Smoking is a symptom. Trauma is a symptom. Anxiety, fear, weight loss, I don't care what it is all a symptom, because if it wasn't, your client wouldn't need to hire you because they would have fixed their problem for themselves. Okay. Who finds it tough to solve their own problems? Put your hand up. Proves my point, because otherwise you would have solved it. And that's why we're brilliant therapists and coaches that get hired to help people do this. So if we realize our client's problem is unconscious, why the hell would we bother asking them any conscious questions if that's not where the problem is?
Would they need, Scott,
yeah.
Do they need at least to feel that someone for the first time is listened to them? Or
yeah, there's a bit of venting, absolutely. But we're going to vent in a way where it's actually going to start the therapy before they've even realized that we've started. And this goes on to my next point. We're going to get into this as an exercise. Again, a bigger block with people working with clients in general, whether you see it or not, is your client's resistance to change, which is common. You know, clients get attached to their problem. It is what it is. And if a client is resistant to change, it means that whether it's a conscious thing or an unconscious thing, it's going to be very hard for us to work with these people. And there's nothing like having a client's resistance come up when you start the age-old thing of close your eyes and relax. That instantly tells people that, hey, I have started. Or follow your timeline. I've started. Look at your childhood, inner trauma, go back, you've started. And all of these little words will trigger your client to think, okay, Sarah's just started on me. I don't know if I'm ready for this. They might not voice it, but you're going to start to see these things. So the way I like to look at it is like this. This is essentially what I'm going to train you guys in is, what if we just do the therapy, get it all done before our clients even realize we've started? And we just hide everything we do. It's better for them. It's better for us. So by the time they change, they look at us and think, okay, cool, let's get started. But unbeknownst to them, you've actually finished. And that's the way I like to work with my lawyers and all my clients. I like to get all the bullshit done at the start. So when I put them in trance, the trance is just like the fun last 5%. But where does everyone put their attention on? Let's get them into trance. Let's do all these fancy techniques and strategies. When you're relying on techniques and strategies, we are now getting locked into one way to do things. And unfortunately, people don't fall into the category of having one way to be, you know, to have their problems resolved. My problem is different than everybody else's problem. It needs to be resolved different than everybody else. Now, techniques have their place and it's a good starting place. It's like training wheels, but it's probably a good time to get rid of the training wheels so you never have to rely on them again. Who's actually found themselves with the techniques? You get to the end of it and, you know, I followed all the steps and it's supposed to achieve this outcome, but the outcome is not what they've said it's going to be. Who's found that before? It's common. Okay. So we're going to break ourselves of that pattern, get all the stuff done. And then if you want to bring back all your old techniques and stuff like that, so be it. But I think this is going to be an easier way for you guys. Okay. So these are some of the principles we're going to talk about, but I don't just want to talk about them. I do want to use these as a demonstration. So we're going to get in the hot seat. What I'm going to require is one client and one therapist. I recommend using a real problem. Okay. Nothing major because I can't guarantee it'll be resolved, but it might be, who knows? Who would be keen to just dive in the deep end, get your demo done straight away? And trust me when I say this, the more demos you put your hand up for, the easier you will learn how to do this, because now it'll shape your personality into this as well. Okay. Yeah. So who wants to be the therapist or the coach?
Me.
So Brian, I'll come to you next, Nuno. So Brian, I saw your hand first. Brian, do you want to be the therapist or the coach?
I'll be the therapist.
Okay.
Or the therapy.
You wanna be the problem.
Problem. Yeah, I'll be the problem.
Okay, bring your problem. Okay, who wants to coach and therapize Brian out of his problem? Daniel?
Right here.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm going to require everybody to do, if you can turn your microphone on mute, also mute your camera if you can as well. That way it just brings in the screen. So just do that for me. Okay, that's it. That way we just got a couple of screens on. I'll turn these videos off, guys. Stop video. Stop video. Just bear with me, folks, while I do that. Okay. So what we're going to do is, okay, I'm just going to try and bring you guys up. Actually, I need this. That's not it. Sorry, guys, let me just get this setting done correctly. I'm hoping, I think because there's, just bear with me, guys. Because I think if we do it like this. All right, so the recording won't be the best for this one. I'm going to mute my video as well, guys. And you guys will still be able to hear me for Brian and Daniel. And then I'll coach you guys through it. I'm just hoping that the screen will be a little bit bigger. Let's try speaker. Let's mute my video. Oops. Okay. No, that's not going to work. Okay. Let me just work this out, guys. That's not it either. All right, let's just go with this one. This is the best one we have. All right. So right now, guys, what we're going to do, as best as this is going to be recorded, is we're going to go through the initial stage of, so bear with me, Sergio, if you spotlight Brian, then you'll appear on the screen. Ah, yes, that's what I was going for. So I'll spotlight Brian. If I can, spotlight for everybody. Ah, there we go. Okay, that's perfect. Thank you, Sergio. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so what we're going to be going for, guys, is, again, forget about your niche for now, and let's just look at this as it is right now. Every session I did with my clients, thanks, Sherry. Every session I did with my clients started the exact same way. Now, yeah, sure, the majority came in for smoking, but we know smoking is just the symptom, and I never helped people quit smoking. It was all the other stuff we helped them with, okay? So we're gonna start off with what I call an interview, because right now, Brian's about to tell us something about his problem, and I want everybody to think in the back of their mind, Brian has no idea what he's talking about. He's literally talking rubbish. And that's the truth. Because
Guaranteed.
if he wasn't, Brian would have solved his own problem. Okay, so all we're going to be doing now, guys, forget about looking at the unconscious moments. We're not going to do any advanced stuff here. What I'm going to do is ask Daniel to start, and we're going to ask Brian to tell us what his problem is. And Daniel's just going to, without solving the problem, all we're going to do, Daniel, for you is just investigate the problem. Just try and find out what's really going on. I will pause at certain points and pull stuff out. But guys, what I want you to look for is I want you guys to keep an eye on Brian and watch what happens. Look at his eyes, look at his mannerisms, listen to his voice, see if you can pick up on anything unusual. And these are not suggestions, but they might be anything unusual that we can see in Brian when he talks about his problem. Okay. And we'll go from there. So Daniel, go for it. Ask him what the problem is and let's see what happens.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Dan.
What's the problem?
I feel like a lazy bastard when it comes to building my business.
A lazy bastard when it comes to building your business. Okay.
Yeah.
What does a lazy bastard look like? Or describe that for me?
Just having a good idea or kind of having a good idea of what I should be doing, but just feeling this inner rebellion not to do it, like not to give up the not to make the sacrifices that I need to make to do what I need to do.
Okay, so there are some things you should be doing, but you're not doing, and then there are sacrifices involved.
Yeah.
Okay, and what are these things that you should be doing?
Well, I finally settled on a niche. So then after that, it's just building out the MOS and doing the rest of the activities and in the last of week one and in the training and moving forward with that.
Okay, so you got your MOS, your niche, you're getting on week one. Okay.
Yeah.
And what are the sacrifices that you need to make?
Well, I play professionally in a band.
Okay.
And so there's some time that I have to do for I need to set aside for rehearsals and band practice, and then and also I have some really good friends that I spend time with that are really important to me, and so I have some social time that and also just time with my family, and also I still have a day job too, which I'm just getting really, really super tired of and really sick of, and I'm just ready to. I mean, I wish I had enough clients and enough steady income through the hypnotherapy business where I could just quit that job. But right now, it's just not feasible, not yet anyway.
Okay, so you have your professional band, your friends, your socializing, your family, and then your work, and this program. So you have 5 things right there. Okay. So you're saying you're in this job that you're really tired of, and right now you're not making enough, you're not having enough clients from this business to leave that job.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm already so tired of that job that I'm just really doing just a bare minimum for that job. And it's a miracle they haven't fired me yet.
It's a miracle they haven't fired you.
It's a miracle they haven't got rid of me yet. Yeah.
Okay. So
let's pause right there. Good job so far. And we're going to pick this apart, guys. Then I'll bring everybody on. We'll have a chat about this because a couple of cool things have happened. Very minute things. And if you probably, most of you guys won't even see what I'm seeing. And that's the whole point. I'm going to coach you guys through this. Everyone should recognize this as well. And I've got obviously your microphones off. This is a pretty typical client. They're going to vent. They're going to open up. They're just going to like explode all of these details that they think are relevant because we've asked them the question, what's the problem? So the client does something interesting. They're trying to help us, but at the same time, it's not helping us. And it's not their fault. We've asked them a question. And sometimes this is enough to let a client vent. It's sometimes good, but I want to go off, beyond just the venting. Now, already look what's happened here. We've got an amalgamation of all these words and all these scenarios and conclusions. What technique would you use for this? How the hell could you know? So you couldn't come into this thinking, okay, Brian said on the strategy call, he's lazy. Okay, I'm going to get my lazy technique out. He needs some motivation. And you spend these hours and hours putting together the scripts and the strategies and the techniques. And Brian comes in and tells us what the problem is, but the problem's already changed in what we're doing this for 30 seconds or a minute. Now, I'm not going to point out what the real problem is. I've already heard it, but I'm going to coach you guys through this. Everybody hears. But I just want to point out how sometimes how techniques violate the whole reason for therapy. The problem's not being lazy, but that's the first thing he said. And we can get so lost in everything Brian's saying. And this is not a criticism, Brian. About 98% of the stuff he has just told us is absolute rubbish.
Great.
There was 2%, yeah, right. There's 2% gold stuff that came out. Okay. But that's the whole purpose of this interview. The whole idea of just getting a client in and going, okay, I already know what your problem is. I've already got my design technique. You're now going to try and satisfy the wrong problem. And you have no idea what it is yet until we actually do some sort of investigation. And what we're trying to do here, guys, is realize this. Brian's got a problem. He's lazy problem, whatever it is. I don't have that problem. So I wonder how or why he has it. That's my thinking going with every client. Scott, I can't quit smoking. Well, I'm not a smoker. I wonder why he can't quit. And what we're doing right now is investigating the mindset. And remember what I said before? The problem exists unconscious. So the very fact of just talking about a problem that's unconscious, it should start to lead Brian into some sort of trance. It actually happened very quickly. There was a couple of moments where he sort of went into the trance, came out, went in, went out. It was very, very quick. Okay. And these are the things that we're going to start looking at very soon. But again, this is just the investigation. I don't want to jump too far into this. But Daniel, for you, just unmute yourself. Where are you at right now? What do we know? Let's summarize what Brian's problem is.
He's got a lot of commitments that are taking away from 100K coaching. Yeah. He's fed up with his job. It's a miracle he hasn't been fired.
Yep.
Okay. And he has to make sacrifices.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you have any idea what his real problem is?
Me personally, I do not.
I've got a rough idea, but I would have to guess, but I'm in the same place as you. Now, the whole reason behind I want to point this out is we can get lost in all these different conversations going on in Brian, but I want to just point something out just for now, and then I'll let you guys continue. We'll see where this goes. Isn't it funny that Brian said I'm lazy, but look at all the commitments he's got. Can you see the contrast in that thinking? How the fuck can someone be lazy but have 5 or 6 full-time commitments? And there's a big unconscious moment right there. Just the logic.
I didn't even think of it that way.
Thank you. Right there. Okay. Now, what this is telling us right there, and he's got a little trance thing going on right now. We haven't even done anything, not even meaning to. Yep. But we've now brought in 2 logical or illogical concepts that cannot exist in the same reality. I am lazy, but Scott, I'm working a full-time fucking job. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. Well, but I'm a lazy bastard. How? Do you see that now, Daniel? Is that clearer?
Right, yes.
Okay. Now, I'm not saying that has done anything. It probably has a little bit because a little bit of laughter going on before, and that's sometimes just a release. But I just want to point that out. We're on the right track. So your questions were good. So Daniel, what are you curious about? What are you curious about what Brian said?
Which one of these things is the most important to you? That's it.
You know, to be honest, I wish I could say my hypnotherapy business, but what's coming up for me is just my time with my friends.
Time with your friends.
And pause right there. And again, hopefully everyone's seeing this, and we're going to talk about this in a group. Did everyone hear the different quality of information came out? If we could contrast the difference in Brian right now, at the start, it was just like, rah, like just exploding like word vomit. And now that one brilliant question, which was either good or bad, we don't know to ask a question, there was a deeper thinking, better quality of information came out. It was more intense. And now we're starting to get something. Did you see that clearly, Daniel? Could you hear that?
Yes, it was more concise.
That's it. There was some thinking involved. It wasn't just like word vomit. Now, were you trying to create, now some unconscious moments going on there, because I heard you use, that's right, or whatever you said, which was great. Did you ask that question to create that unconscious moment?
No, I was just getting clarity for myself.
That's it. And everyone watching this as well, that's what I mean about this stuff. When you're in a rush trying to solve your client's problem, now you're putting pressure on yourself to perform, because we want to look good. It's a bit of ego thing. I used to think like that as well. I want to be like Erickson. I want to show these people I'm like Erickson. But every time I tried to do that stuff, I blocked my client from actually doing what they were supposed to do, which was actually tell me what the real problem is. And I can see in Brian's face, there's some processing going on, even while I'm rambling on. There's something going on. And you've asked 3 fucking questions. Now we could stall all day long and you and me could just chat, and he'll keep doing it. It's out of his control right now. Now, I'll just take over your role for a minute, Daniel. What's happening inside your mind right now, Brian?
I'm just realizing. I think maybe my time with my friends and the practically they're like family to me is more important to me than I realized.
And there we go again. So do you see, by just a little bit of processing, you can see he's in it. It's going to be more of an emotional thing. There's new connections.
Yeah.
And guys, we have done nothing, but we're already on our way to a fucking resolution. Okay. Would that be a fair example, Daniel, of what you're thinking as well?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to let you take over. We won't go too much further into this, Brian. I promise we'll come back to this, but hey, it's probably already started to resolve itself anyway. Who knows? Daniel was that good. It's probably worked already. So Daniel, pick it up from there. What are you curious about based on what he just told you?
Okay. So you said your friends are like your family.
Yeah.
And what's the connection between your friends and your family, your immediate family?
Well, I feel closer to my friends than my own family.
What does closer mean to you?
So I can be, I don't feel as on guard. I can just really truly be myself and just share what's going on with me without.
That's it. Right there. That's it.
Without any, without any judgment.
Without any judgment.
I think I'm not entirely sure. It's just a feeling that's coming up. Words escape me for this.
Words escape you. Okay. So when you mentioned judgments or the lack of judgments when being with your friends, what are you feeling right now? That's it.
I just feel like they really love me for me.
They love you for you.
Yeah, okay. that they really love me.
They really love you.
Yeah, like how I wish I know intellectually my family loves me, but I don't necessarily really feel it from them.
I really feel it. Okay.
So Daniel, what are you curious about right now? You've done a brilliant job.
Yeah.
What are you curious about?
I'm curious, like he's getting love no judgment from his friends, but I'm curious how his interactions, his dynamic with his family is.
So let me ask you this. What would be the purpose of that question? What are you trying to find out?
What is causing him trouble emotionally? Because it seems like with his friends, he's completely free to be himself. With his family, it seems like there's a tension or some sort of distance.
And I just want to, and thank you, Brian, for sharing that. And I really do mean that. What an interesting turn of events. Where did this start? I'm lazy. What the fuck does this have to do with family? But unfortunately, this is what happens. And what does this have to do with the business as well? This is what happens to our problems. And I'll discuss, we'll break it down. I'll show you guys what I mean by, you know, what I'm seeing and all that stuff. But look what's happening. There's something going on. And I don't even know what the fucking problem is. And the point is, neither do you guys. He does. And he doesn't even have to voice it. And even if he does voice it, he's going to get it wrong. So when we start talking also about root causes and stuff like that, get that idea out of your head as well. He is in a place right now where there's some processing going on that I have no idea about. He does, because he's feeling something.
I got an inkling.
There we go. And that's why I know it's an unconscious thing, because he has no idea. And he said before, and I had to sort of resist not jumping in when he said words escape me. What a weird thing to say in a weird place like trance. Right? So Daniel, I'll just take over because I want to, and my ego gets the best of me. So I apologize for that. I just want to, because I want him to just resolve this and we'll break it down. So what's going on now, Brian? What are you feeling? What's happening?
I just remember, I remember always feeling this way, like even when I started my first jobs when I was younger, like I would put off like getting a job when I was in high school and that kind of stuff because I didn't want to like miss out. I was afraid I would have less time for my friends, that kind of stuff. I remember that. It's like it was interesting. It's just that flashed into my mind.
It did, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess if you start the new business, there's an issue that could arise again, right?
Oh, 100%. There's only so many hours in a day.
Now we're getting to the core of the problem. Not there yet. So what I'm wondering about, what I'm curious about, to the extent you have friends that let you be you and be more, free in what you do, to the extent, plus trying to start a business, I wonder why you brought this up as a problem in the first place. What's that?
I just want to have more success. And I just want to have more control over my time. So ultimately I can have more time with friends. Isn't that this seems
stupid, right?
Yeah, it seems so.
So what's happening right now? Makes a weird sort of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it makes sense, but I also feel confused at the same time.
I know.
And then I feel sad too.
I know.
I feel some sadness.
I know. Because it's important, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's important. I want you to consider that, the importance of it. There you go. You may as well. Because when you think about all that time you've had with friends and how they care for you and how important that is, and how important this business is, and how important time is. There you go. And only to the extent you get more time to enjoy all of those things, there you go, of the success that is. Because it's important. There you go. That's it. All the way now. All the way. So close. So close. There you go. All the way now. Because there you go. Because all that time spent with friends and families, in a good way, that is, start to reshape and reform into better things. And I get it. Sometimes we just forget of all those wonderful things we learn with friends and family, and having time and freedom. All start to reshape things. Take your time. There you go. Take your time. Doing a good job. Doing a really good job. I want you to do a thorough job and do something with this. Because what I'm most curious about I wonder how all of these things right now, or what these things right now, have to do with what you came here for. There you go.
Join the club.
Join the club.
I wonder too.
I know. You're doing a good job. So what's happening right now?
Just feeling abandoned, and I have this familiar knot in my stomach that I have comes and goes most of my life.
So it's a knot in your stomach. And it's there right now?
Yeah.
Did you make that happen?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Definitely wouldn't do it on purpose.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure. I wouldn't do this on purpose.
Who would? But there it is. And it comes at important times, like this. There you go. Take your time. Don't do it too quickly. We've got all the time in the world.
That's another thing. I feel like a rush and a desperation too sometimes.
I know. Because time runs out, doesn't it? Slowly. Don't rush it. You're doing something very important right now. And I understand you have no idea what's going on right now. And that's why it is. Not a clue. So, how are you feeling about the hypnotherapy business right now?
Don't have any words for it. It's just
Beyond words, right?
just feel a heaviness in my stomach.
So it's a heaviness.
Hmm.
So you decided to change it.
Not consciously.
Not consciously. So you're telling me things can change unconsciously?
Mm-hmm.
Things can change unconsciously. There you go.
So that's good news for me, actually.
Isn't it? Means you don't have to do anything. Isn't that easier?
I was afraid it would feel like this for, like maybe it's a lost cause because I struggle with this forever. So
I know. But here you are, coping. Because it changes unconsciously. And what good news that is. Right?
I don't want to cope though. I just want to thrive. I don't want to cope.
You want to
I
thrive.
want to survive. I want to just don't want to survive.
Yeah. Who would?
I can start a farm or something, live off the land if I just want to survive.
Yeah.
I probably would starve. I don't think I'm much of a farmer.
I know enough about you to totally agree. So what's happening right now with the stomach?
Still there.
Still there. You mean you're still changing unconsciously? There you go. Changing again. Changing again. There you go. And this time, I want you to find the one that fits. It's like going clothes shopping. You take one shirt, two shirts, three shirts. You've got to try them all on. Why rush it? Changing again. You're doing a good job.
The phrase keeps coming up in my mind.
Which is?
I'm running out of time.
Running out of time. Running out of time. There you go. But you can change unconsciously. But you're running out of time. And I guess that's where the laziness comes in, right?
Yeah, it's a self-inflicted wound.
It is. So if it's a wound, what are you smiling about? Take it
It's just
seriously.
unrelated. I just, the metaphor, I just remember that I had a really stupid accident when I was cleaning a firearm once and I literally shot myself in the foot.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
What an experience.
yeah. It's embarrassing.
Can't really run, can you? Running out of time, that is, with a shot foot.
Yeah. Shot toe.
Shot toe.
Yeah,
So you're not even a good shot to miss all the other toes.
it's a good thing.
Thank
No,
God.
a few centimeters, I would have lost my big toe.
No running at all then, right?
Yeah.
So you would have definitely been out of time. That's better. I know it comes in waves. And it all
It's
connects.
stubborn. It's like it doesn't, it's stubborn. It doesn't want to go. It always keeps hanging on.
Right? I know.
Just want it to go, be gone for good.
Because you want it to change unconsciously.
I just want it to change. I don't care how it does it.
So why try? Let me ask you this. Would you rather be successful or try to be successful?
Rather be.
Right? No point trying. Just like you tried to clean your gun and you shot your foot.
Yeah.
You screwed that up.
For sure.
So what's happening right now? I have a sense that that stomach thing's starting to sort itself out.
Starting to.
I mean, the whole time we're talking garbage, you're actually changing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have fun while changing.
That's an interesting concept. I thought change was supposed to be work or hard or a struggle. Take discipline and
But here you are changing while sitting down with a headset on, making the most important changes in your life while just having a chat. There you go. Yeah, there you go. I have a sense it's starting to make a lot more sense now, right?
somehow.
Somehow. Isn't this a...
It's making sense, but yet it's not making sense at the same time.
Right. So I guess all those years of trying to be successful, trying to have family time, trying to spend time with the friends and trying to succeed, that didn't work. So this must be the way.
Hope so.
Let me ask you this. When you think about the business right now, what's happening?
I'm just distracted by this feeling on my stomach. It's hard to think of anything else.
I know.
It's taken up a lot of my, it's always been here. This is what comes up, and it takes up all my attention. It's hard to concentrate or focus because the urge to distract myself from it is just too strong.
I know. And I'm going to ask you to do something very important for me, and I think you'll enjoy this. You ready for this?
Mhm.
There you go. There you go.
So what is it?
Right. So what's happening with the stomach right now?
Still shifting. It's
You mean you're not doing anything and there it is shifting? It's got a lot of work to do. Right?
I've tried to let it do its own thing and let it resolve on its own, but it's just stubbornly there.
Stubbornly there. Stubbornly there. Sounds familiar. Don't tell me your problem's getting lazy now.
I'm not so sure if it's a problem.
How do you know?
I don't. Not now.
And how do you feel about it?
Not sure. I think it's scared.
Of?
Don't know.
There you go.
Just scared.
I know. There you go. It's weird, isn't it?
I just hate this.
I know, because you're trying again. I guess this is the best time, if any, to just be lazy. Because it changes unconsciously, right?
Lazy.
So while you're being lazy, it can change. So I guess being lazy, like the original problem, is actually a good thing. When it comes to changing, of course.
That would be nice.
Right? So what's happening with the problem right now?
It would be nice to be lazy and just lay the struggle down.
Lay the struggle down.
Yeah.
So why don't you? Be easier.
I've tried.
I know.
Never
And
worked.
that's why you haven't. There it is.
You
Time
got
to-
me.
Yeah. Time to lay it down. And you can resist for a while. I get it. But I'm very patient.
That's the word. I was thinking like rebelling, but that's a better word.
Yeah.
Resisting.
Yeah. Laying it down. That's better. Laying it down.
I just want to cry.
I know. Because it's important. I mean, if we go to the gym, we sweat. If we run, we get out of breath. So change has to have some output. There you go.
It's just a deep hurt
I know.
from long ago. Can't even recall the source.
I know. And here you are changing. It's slow. I get it.
It's like an old legend where you've heard the story a million times over hundreds of years, thousands of years, and you just don't even remember where the original came from.
That's right.
It's like a
There's one thing we know about legends. When they pass from generation to generation, they change. The story changes. The characters change. There you go. The journey changes.
Maybe I could be the hero in this legend, this journey.
I would agree. Even with 9 toes.
9.5.
No, 9.5.
3/4.
There we go. That's better. Why not?
Yeah.
So what's happening right now? What's happening with the stomach thing? Or did you forget about it?
But whenever I laugh, I forget about it for a second.
You're telling me you can enjoy change? Who would have thought? Ridiculous notion, right? Because when you think
Preposterous.
preposterous.
Yeah. It's still there. It's just shifting around a little bit. It's sneaky, it's tricky.
Right?
It'll hide for a little bit, wait till the coast is clear, then at the worst moment.
When you're not looking, right?
Yeah.
So what are you smiling about?
I don't know. It's just that image just made me laugh. Like
Yeah.
it's hiding in the corner.
Right.
It's like he's not paying attention, then it jumps out. You know.
Right. I would have said the same thing about you and your problem.
Yeah.
There you go. So what's happening right now?
It's hard to describe it.
Yeah.
It's it feels worse and better at the same time. It's like a deep tissue massage. It's a good hurt.
Yeah. It's got to be some sort of pain before relief, right?
I don't know.
Isn't that what a massage does?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got to be deep tissue. Shifting again. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get it.
So stubborn. Damn.
I know.
Just want to be done with it.
Yeah. Time to lay it down.
Gone for good. I don't want it to come back.
Yeah. Why would you?
Good.
Yeah.
It's always come back before. That's what I'm afraid of. It's always come back. Always comes back. Always.
There you
Always comes back.
go. That's better.
Always comes back.
Yeah. Well, if you corner, it's going to put up a fight, right? But doesn't the hero always win? That's why they're the hero. Even with half a toe missing, they're still the hero. May not be able to kick it as hard. The hero always wins.
Just comes back.
I know. There you go. It's got to resist for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been there a while.
God, if I could just channel this persistence in a different way.
I know.
This,
So let me ask you this, just out of curiosity, this is sort of where my weird mind goes. To the extent all you've done is persist in this way, I wonder what's all the other ways that you could persist. There you go. Take your time. Time to be the hero. There you go. Comes in waves, I know. You're getting closer, and that's good news. Closer again.
no, but I've felt like not the hero, but the loser.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that where all the legends start? The loser that nobody looks at. The loser everybody forgets. But they go on to do incredible things, don't they? That's how all stories start. It's how most movies start. It's that hero's journey thing, right?
Yeah, if I could never give up. Sometimes I wish I could give up, but I never could.
So you're telling me your persistence is a strength? To not give up?
Under
matter
the right
what the odds?
under the right circumstances.
Yeah. Be silly to think that someone had so much persistence to not want to give up. What a strength that is.
Yeah, but I want to give this up.
I know. You're getting closer. Take your time. Take your time.
I want to give this up.
Take your time.
Get rid of this.
I know. Take your time. I'm here with you. Everything's nice and safe. You're doing a great job.
I want to give this up.
I know.
I want to give up this.
Yeah. Don't rush it. Doing a great job. There you go. Just do little bits at a time. May as well control it.
Yeah, I want this to be just gone.
I know. And you're so close. So what's happening with the stomach right now?
It's persisting.
Right. There you go. Doing a good job. Yeah.
That's persisting.
Right. Good strength for business, wouldn't you say? To persist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to know I do persist. It's just misguided.
Yeah. Right. It's just misguided. So simple. Right?
I'm just laughing. I just think that my unconscious is like, it just gets a little bit of information and it's like, okay, hold my beer. I got this. And it just takes off and you're like, wait.
Yeah.
hold on.
Who's paying? Right?
Yeah.
Thought this was a serious problem. What the hell are you laughing at?
Oh.
Who knows right now, right? It's changing again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. That's better. Comes and goes. I know.
Yeah, it does.
Persists.
It's like me when I was in my fighting days. Like couldn't keep me down.
Right. But the hero does. Keeps getting up.
Couldn't knock me out. I had an iron jaw. I could absorb punishment.
That's it. And only 9.5 toes.
Well, just kick with your heel.
That's right. I agree.
You don't need your toe.
That's right. So what's happening right now with the problem?
It's loosening up a little bit.
Feels better, right?
Yeah.
Good job.
Just smaller.
Smaller.
Not as big a deal.
Not as big a deal. You've been working at it. It's good.
You hammer out a stone long enough, it'll crack.
Right. I agree. So that's all you've been doing this whole time. Just took a few more swings. Yeah.
Take a few more big swings.
With the right hammer though. Just like the hero with the right sword. Changing again.
Yeah.
How's it feeling right now?
Just
I know.
shifting.
Doing a good job.
Just it's like the stars are aligning for this persistence idea. It's just rearranging.
So let it. Why on earth would you interfere? Let the rock be the rock and let the hammer be the hammer. There you go.
I don't know why it just made me laugh for a second.
I know.
I don't know why.
Let's get serious. This is a serious problem, right?
Yeah.
There you go. So what's happening right now? That's better.
It's like I don't want to describe it too much because I'm worried I'm
I know.
going to interfere with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you don't want to overthink of sunrise.
Just let it do what it does.
Don't want to overthink the smell of the sea air.
Yeah. Let it do what it does. That's better. And it wouldn't surprise me if this thinking, this sorting out, it'll take its time. There you go. It'll come and go. But isn't it nice?
It's less strong each time.
I know. And isn't it nice to know you don't have to do anything?
That's what's confusing.
I know. There's the resistance.
Yeah. It's just that insistence that it has to be
Yeah, I know.
hard.
Yeah.
Or to be worth it, I guess. It has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how you feeling right now?
It's still there, but it's sorting out. I can feel it.
Yeah.
Sorting itself out.
Finally.
But there's still, I don't have the, I'm searching for it, but
You mean interfering again?
no,
So stop it.
not interfering. It's a, it's a sense that
I know.
it's almost too good to be true. It's like the sense that it's not, that once it's gone, it's not coming back.
Yeah. But how could you know? Until it finishes, that is.
How could I know it doesn't come back? Only when it comes back.
That's right. So no point interfering. Still
That right
changing,
there
isn't it?
that right there is a shift right there.
I know. I saw it.
Just that phrase right there.
Yeah. Weird, isn't it?
It's just fucking words.
Just fucking words. It's how all good stories are told, though. That's better.
I just had another funny thought. It's a thought that I'm gonna miss this when it's gone.
Right. I can give it back if you want.
I mean, why the fuck would I have that thought?
It's that last bit of change, right?
Oh,
I can give it back.
it's like a bad girlfriend. It's like I'm
Gotta
it's
delete
good
the
she's
number,
gone.
right?
I still miss her.
Yeah.
That's right.
Gotta delete that number.
Oh.
There it is. Last little bit.
Yeah,
That last
still there, but it's tiny, like tiny bit holding on, but
yeah.
it doesn't feel.
Yeah.
Still persisting, but I'm not afraid that it's coming back. I'm not afraid of that now.
Changing away. There you go. At least we know one thing about the old girlfriend. We still have good memories. Why would you want to forget the memories?
Yeah, bad.
But it teaches us a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I guess as long as you just remember this, you can learn. I guess that way you get to get rid of it and keep it at the same time.
I prefer to just completely delete this one.
I agree. So go ahead. Don't wait for me. Don't even wait for you. There you go. Feels better, doesn't it? Did a good job.
Oh no.
There's some adjusting. I know.
Yeah. Yeah, some adjusting.
Yeah.
There's some room in there now. Fill something else.
Yeah.
Hope it's something good that goes in there.
Yeah.
Something useful, something helpful.
Right.
Fill that space.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, just out of curiosity. Thinking about where you were to where you are now, what do you think the smallest thing you could do to actually fill it up with something good? The smallest thing.
Smallest thing. Can't think of anything.
That's fine.
Still sorting.
I know. Let it adjust. Do you know like how long that took us? Do you have a watch on? No, me neither.
I got a pocket computer. I don't need a watch.
That's right. Any questions for me?
Hmm.
Are you just happy to let that process, and we'll talk about you as if you're not here?
Well, I do have some questions. I feel like I've been Jedi mind tricked. So
yeah. Well, how about we do this? I'll answer your questions by talking about you as if you weren't here. Sound good?
go on ahead.
Go on ahead. All right. Well done. All right. Let me just remove all this. Okay. All right, folks. Let's Mark, you're here. Fantastic. All right. Let's get the cameras on. Let's get the mics on. Let's break this down. Okay. Let's get the microphones on. I'll break down exactly what happens. I will give everybody the script of that at the end of the session if everyone wants to read that. All right. Firstly, Daniel, good job. I apologize for jumping in. I just can't resist sometimes, but
Right.
you did the majority of the work. We'll talk about what happened at the end there. But let's break that down. If that's your first time seeing something like that, that is essentially, whether you want to call it conversational hypnosis, therapy, whatever it is, who's seen something like that before, maybe with their clients before, or maybe seen me do it before on video or something like that. Yeah. Now, who can list the techniques that I used?
Impossible.
Who saw the timeline?
No clue.
Yeah. Who saw the timeline? Who saw the inner child? Who saw the RTT, the NLP, the coaching? I'm just having fun with that. Let's break this down. Okay? So essentially, at a broad brush stroke, what we've done is exactly what our client has hired us to do, break them through their problem. Okay, that was really it. All the stuff that happened in the middle, okay, is only about 2 or 3, maybe 4 different principles. Yeah, I'll start your video, Victoria, if I can find where you are. Yes. Ask to start video. Let me know if that helps, Victoria. Sorry, guys. There we go. Perfect. So let's break this down mechanically. What was Brian's problem? Could anyone hazard a guess about what his problem was? What did he first say to us? What was his initial conclusion?
Lazy bastard.
Wasn't getting on with his business.
Yeah. Did you see how where that started? But that's also where the conclusion ended. And did you see how left field that went compared to where he started?
Completely.
If there was another thing that you could take away from this, is to realize that when you miss the point where your client comes in or don't understand the conclusion they come in with, we can go into our vast bag of tricks and try and solve the conclusion. Symptom. Yeah. Okay. Gary, did I turn your video off, Gary? Sorry, guys. I can't see your video, Gary. Oh, Gary up there. Apologize. Yes. There we go. Okay. So if you've ever found that your clients are not having the breakthrough, one of the rules of thumb you've probably violated is you've tried to solve the symptom. Okay. So one way to get past the symptom and try and find out what the real problem is to start to ask questions about what the symptom is. And Daniel did a great job of that by just asking questions about what Brian thought the problem was, with like what questions, when questions, how questions, who. And this is just the first demo, guys. So if you're confused, that's actually a good thing, but we'll try and break this down. So from there, the answers that started to come out from Brian took a whole nother level of change. It was no longer about the laziness. That had nothing to do with it. Okay. All of the things started to come out about family, about time, about free time, the business, fun. And these are what I refer to as knots. And that can be with a K or an N. All of our problems plus our client's problem are just, if you can imagine, like a ball of knots. It's your job with this initial interview is to find out what are all those knots? What are all the conclusions that Brian has come to that's kept him in this fucked up, messy place? And we have to find out what those conclusions are. And by talking about those conclusions and finding them, we start to break them down. And by breaking them down, what happened? Brian started to go into trance. Now, there was no eye closure, traditional. We didn't tell him to relax. There was none of that other stuff. It was a different type of trance than even happened, in the last training that we did. If you watch the videos, that was pretty typical of what I did with the lawyers. It was more upbeat. They go into trance, they come out of it, but it just looked like a conversation. Who would agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you watch.
It was kind of involuntary for me too. I didn't feel. It just happened naturally for me.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose with this style, is to avoid any of the resistance. Okay. Now, at the same time of talking Brian through this, he started to, out of nowhere, who noticed when he started talking about, I just had an image pop into my head, or I just had a thought pop into my head, like a childhood thing happened. Okay. When these things happen, we'll use something called a utilization tool. Your job, when your client starts to voice these things, it's your job to pounce on them and use the own experience back on them. Okay. Now you guys can rewatch the video. About 95% of that session when I took over was me just repeating his words back. Who noticed that?
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. There was no thinking. He came up with the story. He came up, I can't even remember, I was tranced out myself, but all of that information was his.
Mhm.
Because it was coming out unconsciously, it's the visions, the symbolism, all that stuff. I just repeat it back. If he's going to give me a trance, I'm just going to repeat it back, and it's going to deepen, quote unquote, that trance. And my job, all I'm doing is I'm keeping him in that place. And that was it. It's like putting a child in timeout. You sit there and do not move until I say otherwise.
Yeah.
And by talking to him in his own trance, by using the words he used, by using the symbols he was giving me and all the other stuff, I'm keeping him there. Because if I don't keep him there, he escapes, and the conscious mind comes back in and says, no, it's laziness. That's what the problem is. We had to get rid of that straight away. Does that make sense, guys?
And because it's his own words, he'll readily accept that anyway, won't he? And won't question it.
That's it. I didn't know he was going to talk about, I can't remember what he did talk about. I had no idea he was going to bring that stuff up. I couldn't have prepared it. But if I did try and prepare it, I'm now trying to prepare things from my head that I want to stick to him. And that's not his reality.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't prepare any of this stuff. You've got to go with what the client gives us. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I still don't know what his fucking problem is. And I don't care. Did I get to the root cause? I don't care. No idea. Did he heal his inner child? Fuck knows. Did he go on a timeline? No idea. I'll pretend like I know to give him confidence. One thing I do know is that when his unconscious mind came out, you better believe I can jump on it and I'll hold its hand and I'll keep him there in it. Okay. And the reason I want to keep him in that place is for one reason. We know that a client's problem is unconscious. If that's where they created it, that's where they're going to destroy it. So just keep them in the place where they created the problem in the first place. So if we put all techniques, all strategies, everything you guys know about trance and hypnosis and coaching, put all of those things together, every modality, every fancy name, what's the one thing they all have in common? Who would like to hazard a guess?
Starting point.
Starting point, yep. What's the one thing they all have in common?
Trance.
Trance.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, trance.
So if they all have trance in common, it basically means we can use anything. And once he's in trance, you just keep him there for as long as it takes for him to heal. Now, I don't know even how long that took. That was quite a typical longer session, but there was a lot of stuff going on. Okay. Again, if we go back to the business program, that's why we MOS our clients as best we can, but that's also why our prices are high, in case one session takes 10 minutes and another session takes 3 hours. Could you imagine if we stopped that session and went, oh, time, let's come back to next session?
Yeah.
Just do it there.
You couldn't do it.
Okay. So, and I'm going to keep it as basic as that, because we're going to do some more demos and we'll dive into the more principles. But the principle I want you guys to pick up on that is we talked about Brian's problem, and the very nature of talking about the problem created the result. Isn't that weird? Because we're always taught if a client's in pain, get them to feeling relaxed and in a good place. No. If a client's in pain and you can manage it, keep them there. Keep them in that place, because that's a big unconscious moment. Does that make sense? Sure, go ahead, Gary.
So why does the conscious mind all of a sudden kick in again? You know, you get them in a good place, and all of a sudden the conscious mind goes bang.
Yeah.
I'm kicking in again, and I'm rationalizing this.
Yeah.
Why does it do that? Do we need to know why it does that?
You don't, but I'm going to tell you anyway. But yeah, I like the way you think you don't need to know, because that's just why bother thinking about something we don't need to. But I like your thinking. Realize this: all communication, all change work is a mixture of conscious and unconscious conclusions. Okay. So if you look at more the traditional people would say that once you put a client in trance, they're in complete trance. No, they're not. They'll go in, out, in, out, in, out. And if you can respect it to be that way, it won't be a challenge. So the conscious mind, again, will kick in every now and then because it wants to help. It also might want to resist. And it's your job just say, no, I'm not talking to you. You fuck off. Go over there with some funny language or something, whatever you can do. Conscious mind, unconscious mind, you come out. I need to talk to you. And then over time, you'll hear Brian say this. He said it a few times, like, I can't find the words. That's telling me the conscious mind has finally gone away. It's got the hint, go away, I don't need you. But it came up a few times at the start, but towards the end, that was just, I don't even know how long that took, like 1 hour of just pure unconscious communication. So if you just expect it to come back every now and then, you shouldn't have an issue.
Yeah.
Dinara?
I've got a question.
Go for it.
So you say keep them in this unconscious moment. What do you mean by that? Do you like repeating back their stuff? Is that keeping them in the unconscious moment?
That's one way, and that's what we're going to spend the next 2 days doing. I'm going to give you every tool possible to keep them in that unconscious moment. Okay, so we'll get to that, but you'll be able to rewatch that video, and that's one of the principles that I used, because that's the easiest one. Which was, if he's going to talk to me unconscious, I would just repeat back what he's saying to me, because I wouldn't know what else to say.
Hey, Scott, there's something also different in the way you delivered those same words back to me. That I really felt a powerful effect on that. So
yeah, lucky I pre-planned that.
Yeah.
And we'll talk
Scott,
about.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Go for it, Ian.
Scott, so this not me question your technique, but how do we know if this actually delivered him the result? Now, for example, right now, because it's fresh, right? And maybe everything that happened makes sense to him. But once this, training is off, once the computer is off, like, how do we know that's a permanent change?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand that right now. That's what I'm asking.
Well, I purposely left out the testing because that's for sessions later on. And if you don't test the way I'm going to show you guys how to do it, I guarantee the problem will come back. Okay. So I might test Brian a little bit later just to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. And there's a little unconscious moment coming out right there. So there is, and I purposely left that out because it was going a little bit longer than I wanted it to, or than it needed it to. But testing is the reason and the sole reason why your clients need a second session, a third session, an audio, a workbook. That is the reason. But we'll get to testing on day 2 because it's quite vicious, and we've got to prepare. We've got to prepare for that. But it's a good observation. Ian, was there a question?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just a quick one. And I'm sure you're going to cover this, but when there seems to be some confusion, is that an unconscious moment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you guys? I'll bring it up now since a few people asked. Do you guys want me to list out what I mean by an unconscious moment? Will that help? And then we'll go another demo.
Yes.
Just because it's coming up now.
Yeah, that would help.
Normally taught later, but we'll bring it up.
Can I ask a quick question before you describe it?
Yes, Marissa.
Would you use the term unconscious and subconscious moment? Are they interchangeable to you, or are they two different things to you?
Same thing.
Okay, cool.
I always think of it like this. Your client is a mixture of conscious, unconscious, super conscious, every other conscious you can think of. It's
Okay.
just the person.
Perfect. And just quickly before you start, when he was doing that deep exhale, is that a release? Are there any other examples of releases? Or even if you want to just talk about that later, but I just noticed every time you said, yeah, good, it was him doing a deep exhale.
Yep. And I'll talk about what that is right now. That's another unconscious moment. Okay. So an unconscious moment is the breathing out, the heavy sigh, even if it's quick. Okay. That's an unconscious moment. Any emotions, tears, happiness. He laughed a lot. And I would say to him, you know, why are you laughing? I thought this was serious. That's me playing on that moment. So laughing, crying, emotion, screaming, yelling, sighing, breathing, slower, faster, intermediate, they're all unconscious moments. There was a couple of times that everyone noticed, and this is just the way Brian does trance, how he would just stare off and sort of stare into the ceiling for a while and just sit there. Unconscious moment. So like daydreaming type thing.
I noticed his eyes were flickering backwards and forwards.
You see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another unconscious moment. Now, Brian does trance very cool, where he'll go really, really deep and then snap himself out of it, and deep again, snap himself out of it. You never want to look at this and think, oh, fuck, is he supposed to do that? Why won't he keep his eyes closed? Shit, that's different than my last client. Every client does trance differently, but everyone's looking for this stuff. That doesn't exist. That would probably exist 1 in 20 people. So again, if you drop the label of, okay, my client's eyes have to be closed, no, they don't. If you drop the label of my client has to be a certain depth, no, they don't. If you drop the idea that my client has to have a suggestibility test, no, they don't. I want you guys to break free of all those labels, because those labels keep us stuck in it has to be one way. And you have a lot more freedom when it can just be any way, and you just use what your client gives you. Now, guys, realize that demo 1. We've just started this training course. We're going to do a ton of these, but hopefully you're seeing something new in this. Shana, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. So how do you manage your client's expectation if that's what they want? You know, you're doing conversational hypnosis, you know that something's happening, but they've come in wanting that trance experience, and it kind of breaks it breaks the rapport, because that's what they think they're coming in for. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And this is a good question. I probably had that once or twice where a client said, well, hang on, where's the hypnosis stuff, Scott? What the hell? So the way I'd get around this is I just tell them, well, what did you come in here? Did you want the result, or did you want the hypnosis stuff? I wanted the result. Well, there you got it. So that would be the conversation I'd have. But it's very rare that I ever had someone say, you know, where was the hypnosis stuff? Okay. And you could also frame that as, well, it was there. You just missed it because you were in it. There's ways you can play around with that, but I wouldn't get too hung up on what if my client says this. But on the other end of that, if they say, well, I want that, okay, let's do that now. The problem's finished, but if you got time, let's do that now. Close your eyes. Have a bit of fun with it. That's
yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Thank you.
Well,
yeah. Now let me ask you this, Brian. Was there any doubt in your mind that you went into trance?
No doubt at all.
No.
Yeah,
no doubt.
But outside observers would look at that and go, well, that's not trance. That's not traditional stuff. But all that matters is how Brian feels.
I had a question for Brian.
Yeah, go for it, Bella.
Just wanted to know, every time when Scott was asking or repeating things, when you were going back and forth into your unconscious state, and you said you've got pain in your stomach and it's become big or small, then you said it's breaking. So just wanted to know that even while you were in trance, were you feeling the pain most of the time?
Yeah. I was still sensing it was still there, but it was as if I was. I can feel myself even just thinking about it. I can still feel myself even go back into trances. I'm still feeling it in my stomach now, but it's shifting and changing. But yeah, I was able to feel it the whole time. But what the difference was is that I didn't feel that I was resisting it. It felt more like It felt like more maybe like you have a child or something who's hurt himself and he's having a hard time, and you just sit there with him. You're not trying to hurry up and cure them and put a Band-Aid on him. He just needs a hug. So
what about the? Were you reconstructing the scenario? What was going on?
No, it was just I literally was just feeling that feeling, but without the resistance, just sitting with it, and it was as if it was just. It's hard for me to have words for it. It's like if you ever had kids and they needed someone, they're crying or they're hurt, you don't try to hurry up and solve the problem. First thing you do is you pick them up and you grab them and you hold them and you comfort them. And you're loving presence there for them.
See, what's interesting has already come up. That's how I know he's actually made some changes as well. The very fact of trying to explain the change, he's got to use unconscious moments to try and explain it.
Yeah.
And look at him now compared to when he talked about the problem before. He was a wreck.
Yeah.
I noticed one thing, even while answering me, he goes back to his unconscious state.
Yeah.
And it was so obvious.
That's how I know it's an unconscious change, not a conscious fluff change.
Yes.
Because again, you lose words. And as soon as you start losing words, you are unable to explain it. I could pick up that you're still in the same state. Amazing. Yeah. Wow. Well done,
look,
Brian.
We can test him on it. Brian, how do you feel about the problem right now?
It doesn't feel as insurmountable.
Sounds like a good change to me. Now, realize there's processing that has to happen when he goes to sleep. All of that takes into account, but that's how I know the change is unconscious. Because when a client can't even describe what it is and has to use metaphors and stories to try and explain a problem they could tell us consciously before, but now it's so unconscious, they can't explain it. That's another key that, yes, something has changed unconscious. And I can see in the way he describes and talks about it, he was emotional. Now he's laughing about it. He's smiling. It's like nothing.
One of the bigger changes that I noticed is that I can feel what was the persistence, which was the problem. Now that feels like a resource now, because now I'm looking back and I can remember all the times in my life where that kind of stubbornness and that kind of persistence benefited me and got me through things. So
there we have a complete, pure, unconscious change right there.
Yeah.
Now, did we have to do anything? Nope. He came up with that. Could you imagine if I said that to Brian at the start and say, hey, just go do this? He would have just said, no, fuck no, that doesn't make sense. I'm not going to do that. I've been doing that my whole life.
Because the problem is a solution. It's like, well, that's my problem. So the problem actually became the solution.
Oh, wow.
Sounds good to me.
What a great metaphor, that one.
Yeah.
And solution.
And doesn't that take the pressure off us guys to try and perform? Like, oh, he's not a non-smoker. Fuck. Had nothing to do with that. Had nothing to do with the initial problem. That's just the conscious conclusion.
So Scott, I have to say something, right? So when you were doing that, now, of course, now we've seen the results, but there are so many times I'm thinking, oh, okay, I would, like, if I were doing it, I'd be like, okay, maybe you have an association with, doing this program, like a negative association, like you've attached a negative emotion, right? Mm-hmm. Which until today, I thought that was effective, right? Would that still be effective? Would that still be an effective strategy, an effective tactic to use? That, okay, why do you have a negative emotion toward doing this program and seeing your way through it, as opposed to hanging out with your friends and family and stuff?
Well, no, because that wasn't the problem. My program was just his conclusion. The business was just the conclusion. So I could talk about that all day long. It'd just be a conclusion. That's just what he came up with his head trying to explain it. What the problem was, what the problem was, showed up as the pain in his stomach. That's all I need to know. That's why I focused on that. That's what the problem was. And whatever association that had, whatever knot was tied to that, my job or his job is just to disperse that or change it or move it, whatever it is. 95% of the stuff he was talking about was absolute conscious garbage. You just got to get really, really good at picking out what do I listen to and what do I ignore. And you'll learn by day 2 to be strikingly obvious. Remember, this is, day 1, demo number 1. Okay. I see a couple of hands. I see Aaron. I see yours. I'm going to unmute you. Try that, Aaron. See if you can unmute yourself.
Yep.
Go for it.
Okay, my observations that I had is when I was observing the whole role play, I felt that I also in the trance as well.
Who felt that as well?
Bloody hell sleepy.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole thing, I was like,
yeah.
So it is like it is like you are talking to him. The transference of trust is coming to me as well.
Do you guys want to know why that happens?
Yes.
Because Aaron's got the same problem as Brian. So his unconscious mind's in a nice place. He feels safe. He feels secure. He's around friends. The unconscious mind says, well, let's just fix your shit too. So if you ever notice when you're sitting with clients, you start to get teary and you start to feel something, sort of resist that as much as you can. Don't break down in front of your clients because they won't like that. But that's just you changing as well, because you probably have the same association or the same conclusions as they do. And that's why sometimes after trance, whoever feels after working with a client, like you feel a bit of freedom as well. Like I feel really good for some reason.
All the time.
Definitely.
You're sorting your own stuff. So Aaron, good job. I'm going to charge you guys both at the same time. There's some group sessions. Beautiful. Look at that. Okay. But that's very normal. Okay. Stephanie, I'll get you first. Go, Stephanie. Just unmute yourself.
Sorry. During the session, he used loads and loads of metaphors.
Who heard that? Tons. Yeah.
So how
hammer?
And that's unusual for me because I hardly ever speak in metaphors. So, but when I was in trance, that surprised me that I come up with that stuff.
So is there a way to decide which ones you're going to follow through with, Scott? Like, because you didn't follow through with all of them, but you seem to pick, you just picked on ones that you use, like you picked on the legend one.
Yeah.
I can't remember the other ones that you picked on, but he was using quite a lot of them, but you didn't like go for all of them. You just selected them.
Yeah.
Was that like a random selection, or was that like you knew what you were going for?
Yeah. So I'm in trance too when I'm working with a client. And this is a trust thing. I trust whatever comes out of my mouth is exactly what needs to be said.
Okay.
So consciously, I'm sitting back. I got my feet up. As long as I don't swear in front of my client when they're in trance, whatever comes out of my mouth is the exact same thing. So I actually saw someone wrote a question where they said, what did Scott say there to get that transformation? I don't even remember what I said, but it was powerful to the extent I couldn't even repeat it because I had no idea what I just said.
I couldn't remember it either.
Okay, we'll have to look at the video, but I noticed a massive change, and then I was off in my head, in the trance. Well, so I actually forgot. So to answer your question, consciously, you could pick any of those things because they're all so related. They're all connected. He's in trance. Whatever comes out of his mouth is a big unconscious. Maybe you can use any of it. But then you take it the next level where you just don't care what happens in the session, and you just know whatever comes out of your mouth is going to be my unconscious talking to his unconscious. And your conscious mind can just take a step back. But that's a trust thing that happens over time. Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And what's funny as well, like, and again, moving beyond that as well, the next level of that, you'll start to notice that your time slows down. I don't even remember seeing you guys on the screen. I would have to look back at actually what I said. You zone out as well. But the trance is so intense between you and the participant where nothing else matters. That's an incredible place to be for your clients, because then it's not you doing the work, it's the other you. And the other you is where all the strategies are. So you may as well let that you do all the work and you can just sit back and do nothing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Victoria?
Unmute.
Just unmute yourself, Victoria, if you can. We can't hear you. Maybe it might be your microphone. No, I can see your mic. Try now. No. Still can't hear you. No, it might be your microphone. Victoria, sorry, I can't hear you. No. Do you want to type it in the chat box? I can read it out.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it, Sarah. Just see how you go with that Victoria, and just yell out when you think you've worked it out. Yeah, go, Sarah.
I get a lot of clients, and maybe it's because we're all on our phones all the time, our pocket computers, who are like, I had a client yesterday who was in her car, just on her phone. But I noticed during the training, it's very quiet, but very focused. And I know sometimes with the past techniques, we can say, and with every noise, every distraction, every sound, you just go deeper. And so sometimes we can use that. But in this, I mean, is it imperative that clients are somewhere quiet, distraction-free, like not in their car on their phone? And
I think just for safety, it's definitely a good idea. But yeah, I've heard that whole thing, like a dog barks, use the dog bark, but then that's not coming from them unless they barked. So I'm probably not going to use it. So you can use that strategy, but all in all, when you do the strategy call and you close them and they book their first session, just demand that, hey, be in your house, be somewhere safe, not in your car, just for safety. I would do that.
And even with that though, like people walking in and out, I've had that. A lot of my clients have kids. Someone's at home, I'd see them, like I hear them walking in and out. Would you just, it seems like that would pull them out of a trance if they are in one and the conscious mind.
Yeah, it would. You just have to catch it and then put them back in. And we can explore that as more of an exercise later. If you remind me, I'll give you some tips on that. But just all in all, try and have a client somewhere where they're quiet as best as you can. Yeah, but sometimes.
Sorry, Scott.
Yes, go Victoria. Yes.
Yeah, and sorry, it was my headphones.
That's okay.
I noticed a lot of his body language when he was going into the unconscious moments with the problem. He was dropping down to the left and his eyes were flickering quite a lot. When he actually was reframing and changing, I noticed him literally do that with his neck at one point. So he was literally relaxing his neck, and then he put his shoulders back. And his head, his head kind of went up and he started looking upwards then. And that to me was, he's done it. He's untied that knot. That was just something I observed.
Yeah, we can make those assumptions, but that means I'm now doing something. I don't want to do anything. I just keep them there. Eventually they'll snap out of the trance when they're done. That's all I want to do. I'm literally just keeping them there, and just through inference saying, take your time, just stay there. I'm here. Whatever happens, happens. Because if you make the assumption too early, you could start thinking, okay, I think they're ready. I'm going to pull them out. And then I might be just on the cusp of something brilliant, but then you interrupt it. So you're just going to be a bit mindful of that. But they're, again, unconscious moments. The moving, the shifting, the cracking the neck, the stomach, the sighing. There's a lot of unconscious moments. Anything that's outside of his awareness that he's not doing on purpose, that's essentially an unconscious moment.
Yeah, it was just beautiful to watch, Scott. Really beautiful.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Sherry, did you have a question? Got your hand up? Yep.
Yes. You said, since I took this 2 weeks ago and have been working with people, you said today that everyone goes in trance differently, different levels, different things. So really all we do is, once you get them there, they're going to have unconscious and conscious moments, is just follow the unconscious moments and bring them back to that.
That's it.
And that you don't worry about how deep the trance is, whether their head's over, nothing. It's just follow the unconscious moments and keep them there.
They can be eyes wide open, eyes wide shut. Is that a movie? I think
it is a movie.
Eyes wide open. They can be head down, drooling on themselves. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what they say. I'm just following where is that moment? How can it's like a magnet. I want to get onto that because that's where the change happens. For Brian, it was just the stomach thing. And I wanted to use that type of example for day 2. So it's good it's come up now. That's quite an advanced sort of strategy to put their awareness on the trance itself. But since it came up, and whatever that was symbolizing in his stomach now became the symbolization for change as well. And the best thing is for everybody to understand this, we don't have to know what it is. I get the root cause thing. I understand that as a theory, but don't rack your head around, because what you think you've got to the root cause is probably just another guess anyway. You are never going to really understand. Sometimes it's obvious. Then you've got to think, is that really it, or is there something deeper? The worst thing you can do is say something like this: all problems exist because of anxiety, or all problems are linked to X, Y, and Z. Don't do that, because that is a massive guess. That's a theory, and that'll get you locked into it has to be this way to do things. And sometimes getting locked in is fine, but I want to take you guys to another level where you can literally just be like thought free. You know, I say in the program, turn your brain off here as well. All you have to know is where to start, which is what's the problem, as Daniel did so brilliantly. Okay. Any other questions? And then we'll sort of move on from there. Daniel, you got your hand up?
Yeah. So back to Sarah's point, when you said safety, you want the client to be somewhere at home, not in their car. Like, can you elaborate on that? Like, have you had any issues with clients getting in danger? Yeah.
No, because when they used to come and see my office, it's in my office, I'm in control. Right. But even on a strategy call, I tell people don't be in a car or an airport because we won't do the call. It's the same thing with therapy. I don't want them to be anywhere dangerous in case they have an ab reaction. And it probably wouldn't look good if they're having an ab reaction in their car, sitting in a car park.
Right, right.
So keep them home, but also moving past that. And this is a great thing about working with your clients over Zoom and Skype. You can say to them, hey, it's finished now. Go process this. Go to your spare room or go to your room, have a nap for 20 minutes. Text me when you've woken up.
Right.
I want them to be home. I don't want them to say, hey, I'm driving home now. I just feel I don't want to be responsible if they have an issue with that. So I want to keep them somewhere safe. But also at an unconscious level as well, home is safety for them. So already there's going to be an association to safety. So that's also a bonus for me as well.
Right. Okay.
Cool. Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Taking off the responsibility, like putting it onto them.
Yeah. Sarah?
Okay.
I think it was actually more so the distractions, kids, dogs, other people walking in and out. I mean, I would never ever do a session while someone's driving. I have had them connect in their car from their phone, but obviously they're not driving.
Some things are unavoidable, but you just got to let your client know, hey, just try and be somewhere where it's quiet, you won't be distracted. But if the kids run in, you can't avoid that. You just want to try your best to put them in a place where there's not going to be a distraction. That's all you can really do.
Yeah, and the difference between this style and then other techniques that say use those external distractions to go deep.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say go deep. I would maybe use that as part of the change or a story. Remember, a depth perception and depth of trance, I think, is highly irrelevant. Okay. But again, if it comes up, use it. It's not going to bust the session. Just sort of see what happens. Was there any other questions? Then we'll move on.
Yes, please.
Yes, Chris, go for it.
Yeah. So is there always a release of emotion?
Yes.
There is.
Sometimes there's tears, there's laughter, there's sighing, there's swearing, there's hysterical laughter where they can't stop. There's a massive breakdown. The only thing you've got to monitor for is an ab reaction. An ab reaction is when they get really emotional and have a complete nervous and emotional breakdown where they might regress to a child being abused. You've got to sort of catch that before it happens. And if you listen back to the tape, Brian was sort of almost going a little bit too far, and I had to pull him back. I don't know if any of you guys caught that. You'll hear that in the tape. But yeah, I want some sort of emotion. And what's funny is it's so obvious when your clients aren't emotional. I'm working with straight-faced lawyers, and then all of a sudden they're hysterically laughing where they have no idea what they're laughing about, almost to the point where they're wetting themselves. I know that's a pure unconscious change. So you definitely want to be on the lookout for that.
So a physical sensation and any kind of emotion, these two are always connected.
They're all unconscious moments. Anything that is outside of your awareness that you don't control is exactly what I want to be focusing on. When Brian was laughing, I was saying, hey, what are you laughing for? Take it seriously, why don't you? That's me putting his attention on the unconscious moment to keep him in that laughing place. And laughing, as a side note, is probably a good place. If he's laughing about his problem, that's a pretty good resource. I'm going to stick on that, stay there, laugh about this thing, because now that's going to get connected to fun. So that's me connecting that resource there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Excellent. Eva, question?
Yeah, so I was wondering, from when you first started and the problem was the laziness initially, do you always get to a point where you focus on something emotional? So you seem to, when he talked about the feeling in his stomach, you kind of honed in on that. So are you looking for a physical emotion that they feel to hone into it? So how did you get to that?
No, the only reason I jumped on that is because he presented it to me.
Right.
That type of trance is usually like for day 2. It's cool that it came out as the very first thing we did. That's actually quite an advanced thing, but I'm just using whatever my client gives me. If they say they've got a weird sensation, that's an unconscious moment. I'll jump on it.
Right.
If they say, I can't put my words together, that's an unconscious moment. I'll jump on that. I just went with that because that's what he gave us.
Cool.
All right. Brian, question?
Yeah. So I know you're using your unconscious to select which words to pair it back to me. But what I notice is it just the words themselves, or is it just the way that you deliver them? Because it seemed like you delivered them in such a way that I've had like a quadruple impact. It was like it hit me with a sledgehammer.
Yes.
Okay. So is that so are we going to talk more about this later?
Day 2. Day 2. We will. Okay.
Okay.
But
okay, because that's just one thing I noticed right off the bat. I was just like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah. I mean, what an easy job. I got paid $1,500 by Brian just to parrot his own words back. That's a cool career to me. Okay. But we will talk about that in day 2. Delivery is a big thing. We'll look at pausing. We'll look at emphasis. We'll do all that in day 2. But why would we rush, Brian? Right?
Yeah. And can I ask one more question too? Because you're saying that it doesn't matter, like you don't have to know how or why the client comes to their conclusions or their breakthrough, but does the client even have to know?
Not consciously.
Okay.
They will unconsciously, because that's where the problem is.
Because I don't even know how or what. I can't make heads or tails of it. I just know that I just feel different, feel better.
Who would say that's a good change? Yeah, good resource.
Yeah.
And we'll test him later. I mean, look at the difference. It just talking about the problem, you can physically see there's something that happened. And we didn't plan any of that. Like you couldn't plan that. You couldn't script that. You couldn't put a tech. But I get it. The mechanics are going to come in and they're going to try and make a technique out of what they saw. I guarantee it'll happen. And that's what people used to do with Erickson. Who's heard of timeline therapy before? Who's heard of regressions before?
Mm-hmm.
They all came because Erickson was sitting with clients and one of his clients said, I just had an image of a calendar. So he jumped on it, made a story about a calendar. All the mechanics came and said, oh, that's a regression. That's how techniques get created. So I think just get rid of the middleman. And all I'm doing is waiting for Brian to tell me, how does he want therapy? Brian's way was to tell me stories. So I parroted those stories back. Brian actually regressed back a bit and I jumped on that. I did a quick regression with him. And there was a future regression as well. We went there. Then there was some childhood stuff, trauma. I went there. So it's an amalgamation of all these things, but I'm not planning this stuff out ahead. I'm waiting for Brian to tell me, what does he want me to do? Unconsciously, that is. His unconscious mind will tell me. And then your clients will look at you then and go, oh my God, how did you know how to say that? That was brilliant. How did you know? You told me. I just repeated it back.
Yeah, there's a couple words that you said that I didn't even say them out loud, but it was like you read my mind. I mean, those words were like right on the tip of my tongue and you said them for me. It's like as if you were in my head.
Exactly where I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the resistance.
Now, I'll tell you how we do that. And that's again another unconscious moment. When your client's about to say something and they can't find the words and you go, that's it. I know. I don't fucking know, but he knows. So
no, but you said the word though. You said the actual word though.
I know. Always interesting to have a client try and analyze everything you do. All in all, and we'll move past this demo because we could spend 2 days just talking about this demo because I haven't.
Yeah.
And who just looks at that and thinks that looks like actually fun way to do things. It's casual.
Yeah.
There's no pressure. I don't have to try and solve the problem. I don't even have to know what the problem is. It just gets us unlocked from, if I follow step 1, 2, 3, and 4, it should result in outcome number 5. That doesn't exist. If clients were all robots and the same, it would. Okay. So let's move past that. What time did we start at? You know what, guys? That's been 2 hours, 2 hours already. Let's have a 20-minute break. Only 20 minutes because I'll get your question, Mel, in a moment. We'll get 20 minutes because it allows Zoom to download that file for me. So we'll do a 20-minute break, then we'll come back and we'll start from scratch again. I apologize for jumping so deep into that session. I wasn't expecting that, but who cares? It was still cool. And we'll go through those processes again. So Mel, go for it.
Yeah, I've started doing a talking hypnosis with a few of my clients, and I know it's because I have this kind of, I don't know, imposter kind of feeling, and I noticed that when they were staring at me, I felt really uncomfortable, and I'm kind of waiting for them to say, what are you doing? Because I did it on my mum. Maybe I got traumatized with my mum because she was like, stop repeating what I'm saying. Aren't you listening? And maybe it was a bad thing to do my mum first, because since then, I feel really uncomfortable being in front of my clients and they're looking at me funny. And I'm like, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing? And so my question is that, what do you do when they say, what are you talking about? Why are you talking funny? Why are you doing that? Are they going to do that?
Day 2, I'll give you the exact strategy for that. You just have to remind me of that. Okay. But day 2, we'll definitely do that. Okay. Now, what's interesting as well is, do you see how quickly our problems get created from one bad thing? That's a textbook example. You work with someone, you have a bad experience, all of a sudden, the unconscious mind concludes that as an aggregate, all clients are going to be hard.
Yeah.
Now you have imposter syndrome, therapy is hard. I can't do this. Fuck this career. I have to go get a job. Do you see how problems just spiral out of control? Okay. Day 2, we'll talk more about our own conclusions and how those things happen. But I have to bring this up now, then we'll have a quick break. Do you see Mel's conclusion there of the problem? It's imposter syndrome.
Yep.
No, it's not. That's her conclusion. So it would be silly of me to suggest that after the break, Mel's the client and someone is the therapist. But who knows what's going to happen? Let's do 20 minutes, guys. What'll happen? Go back to the Facebook group in 20 minutes. I'll post another link that'll say session 2. That'll be the new Zoom link. Okay, so this call will be canceled. New Zoom link. Mel, you're going to be the client. Someone else is going to be the therapist. We'll solve Mel's imposter syndrome. Okay, I'll see you guys in 20 minutes.
Thanks, Scott.